This is giving some really squally showers as it crosses into the Highlands, and there's still a rattling good 40-mile-an-hour blast north of the Caledonian Canal, producing hail showers off the Atlantic and whisking them across the Northern Isles. And there's a fair amount of sunshine in these bits that I've left fairly blank. By the middle of the day, I would think things will tone down on this rain belt, but the cloud will still be there, and it'll probably fill in a bit on the other side of the South Pennines. This cloud spreading right across to Aberdeen at the same time, but essentially not too bad, quite dry, and the wind's dropping a bit. But then this afternoon, and particularly by the end of the afternoon, all this beginning to generate strong winds and driving rain pushing across the north of Ireland into the west of Scotland, and it looks like being a fairly windy and wet night for Scotland, whereas down south a little bit less wind, but this cloud refusing to go away and hugging all the fringes, all the coasts, all the headlands. The winds today at midday at the surface still very strong across the north of Scotland, and as we go further and further towards the south of England, dropping down to 10 miles an hour. The temperatures this afternoon, it's good for the time of year really. I mean, you would expect it to be sort of 6s and 7s, so pretty mild in the south despite the cloud. The summary then I'll leave you to have a look at. Here's the summary for today.
Good morning, it's 7 o'clock. You are watching a special edition of the BBC's Breakfast Time programme, bringing you the latest information on Britain's worst ever airline disaster. It's now known that 258 people died on the jumbo jet that crashed in Scotland last night. This was the scene at Lockerbie in Dumfriesshire last night. Burning wreckage on the ground there, and also the wreckage of cars that were hit as parts of the aircraft fell to the ground. Houses were damaged too. One man spoke a few moments ago about not knowing where either his relatives or their home was. And this is Lockerbie this morning. Rescue workers there assembling outside a local hotel, and within the last few moments, the Scottish office have confirmed that they have so far recovered 150 bodies. We hope to have more details and live pictures from Lockerbie a little later. In the meantime, here's Sally.
And during the next 2 hours, we'll be asking aviation experts what might have caused the disaster. We'll have reports from Heathrow Airport, where relatives and friends are still waiting for news, and from the United States, where the ill-fated Pan Am Jumbo should have landed in the early hours of this morning.
There was no mayday, there was no warning. At 7:19, the jumbo jet disappeared from the radar screens and crashed onto a hillside and onto the edge of the small Scottish town of Lockerbie. People who saw the jumbo jet come down spoke of a fireball, of liquid fire falling onto Lockerbie and onto the A74, onto houses and onto cars. The remains of a jumbo jet that had been flying at 31,000 feet one moment, that had hurtled to the ground the next. All without explanation. A Pan Am jumbo jet with 258 passengers and crew, men, women and children, had crashed 54 minutes from Heathrow Airport on its flight to New York. The Queen is said to be shocked and appalled by the tragedy. The Prime Minister's spokesman said she too was shocked by the terrible disaster. This morning there are several theories as to what caused it, but they are only theories. There's talk of an explosion. That could mean sabotage. It could have been structural failure. There'll be a statement in the Commons this morning. Pan Am Flight 103 originated in Frankfurt, West Germany, yesterday afternoon. Many American servicemen and their families were on board, going home for Christmas. They joined the jumbo that was to crash at Heathrow. They were 25 minutes late taking off. Less than an hour later, they were all dead. Here now is our first report on this Britain's worst ever air disaster from Mike Mackay.
This was the nightmare come true. The jumbo passenger jet that plunged out of the night sky into a small but densely packed community straddling the main road into Scotland. The Pan Am 747, en route from Heathrow to Kennedy Airport, had just curved out over the Scottish lowlands to fly over the North Atlantic. For no evident reason, and without any Mayday warning, the 747 careered into the town of Lockerbie,